Welcome to the Morning Formation. This episode is powered by Act Now Education. Warriors, fall in. It's time for formation. Today, folks, I have a guest who I actually used to work for once upon a time, and today he is running several different streams of income. He's a businessman. He's pivoted so much, 180 degrees, going from a federal law enforcement officer, government worker, to now running his own businesses and working with multiple CEOs. So I'd like to introduce you to none other than the great Floridian, George Gammon. Thank you, sir, for joining me today.
Hey. No, thanks for having me, brother.
Man, honestly, the honor is all mine because I had the opportunity to work for you a few years ago and work with you. And I got to say, by far, you were definitely top 3 most motivated individuals I've ever worked with in my entire life. And I didn't know a lot of times what would drive you to get things done. I've been very blessed throughout my life to work with folks like you. And I'm not just kissing your ass because you're sitting in front of me right now, but the one thing that I really enjoyed about your leadership was you understood that each individual person needed different types of mentoring and supervision. And I really appreciated that about you the most. And I knew that when you made your career transition into the civilian sector that you were going to pivot and you were going to be real successful. So can you talk a little bit about your background and where you came from originally?
Grew up in Florida, born and raised, Tampa, went to college, graduated from the University of South Florida, and then jumped pretty much right into the Air Marshal service. A lot of that came because of connections from my family. I grew up in a military family. Mom's military, dad's family, military, my brother's military, Marine Corps, or Air Force, Coast Guard, the whole works. And I had considered going in to the military through like an ICS program or like what do they call it? The Officer Candidate School programs or something while I was in college. But my mom had a reserve guy that worked for her who knew about the Air Marshals. And he was telling me all about the Air Marshals. And so I was like, that sounds like a great job. And the more I looked into what being an Air Marshal was, I was like, what is an Air Marshal? Like, I can't find anything about it. It was kind of super secret. And so I knew that's what I wanted to do and made it happen. Started in Miami and then just bounced all around DC, from DC to LA, where I worked with you and began my transition out.
So that was your first job coming out of college? Your first
That
real
was
job?
that was it. Yep.
So where did the work ethic come from?
I mean, I feel like I've always kind of had it. So like, I'll go back to as a kid, I guess. Like, I was a kind of a bullied kid, right? And like, I was always kind of a heavier kid, so people made fun of me, and like, I had to work harder to overcome those like internal struggles, my own like feeling of self-worth and trying to overcompensate. So like, I remember when I got into high school, I told myself I'll be captain of the football team. And nobody believed me, but I did it. I worked my ass off. I became the strongest. I became the best. I became one of the leaders, and I became captain of the football team. Got first team all conference, honorable mention, like all these, scholarship offers and stuff. And I think that's what really did it for me, is this internal drive. And then my parents are hardworking, driven folks. I had good role models, but it's mostly for me. And then I became to the point, like, I think it's more of like, that's who I became. I thrived when I worked hard. I could see the results. If I just sit back and let things happen and just ask for it to be handed to me, it's not going to be given to me. I had to take it.
Right. So combination of being raised right and sports. And from my understanding from our past conversations, you also got an opportunity to play college football, right?
I did play a little bit of college football. Yeah, man, it was pretty cool. I started at a small D3 school up in Wisconsin. Got to start there, and then transitioned to USF later on, but that didn't work out for me. But it was still fun, man. It was a good opportunity, great opportunity to be able to play at the collegiate level.
What was it like going to that new level, D3 to D1?
Fast. So just even the tryout was faster. Everybody's faster. Everybody's stronger. It's just different. And it just was a whole nother level. Looking back, maybe I should have stayed at the JUCO level if I wanted to play football.
Yeah, but who
But
wants
it
to
was
live in
still good.
Wisconsin? Who wants to live in Wisconsin though?
Nah, it was cool to experience, but I'll never go back there. It's
Yeah.
too cold for me.
Shoot, I remember on a smaller scale my freshman year when I got in on a couple of varsity plays and they actually gave me the ball on one of the plays and I remember it was over in like a blink of an eye and I was like, wow, that was fast. And that's varsity. I can't even imagine D1 like you're working with all these guys that are like the top of the top and the cream of the crop of their own states and everything.
I never got to do any game time at that level. I got game time at the D3 level. And even there, it was faster. I mean, these kids, most of these college kids, like even to the D3 level, could be D1 athletes. And you see it today where some of these kids will go start at JUCO and now they're, Heisman Trophy candidates and they're getting their opportunities. It's just they hustled and they grinded and they didn't give up. I did slack a little bit when I transitioned, excuse me, to USF. I joined the Greek life, got kind of into the Greek life a little harder than I probably should have, and
Right.
that was more fun than working my butt off. So I kind of I stopped my work ethic kind of backed off for a little bit there for about 2 or 3 years in college.
Well, what's to be expected when you're young and you're living in South Florida, you know?
It was a great time. I'm not going to
I
go
mean,
into those details, but
yeah, that's for, yeah, that's for another R-rated or worse time. But I'm originally from Hawaii, and I could never imagine putting myself in a tropical environment and thinking that I'm actually going to attend class. So just for you to have the motivation and the mindset and the maturity to just show up, and you eventually graduated from USF, right?
I did. Yep.
Yeah,
Graduated from USF in '09,
yeah. And your
2009. Yep.
brother, you have a younger brother, right?
I do. He's a couple years younger than me.
And he took a different path, right?
Completely different path. He didn't like school at all. He was kind of a troubled kid. Um, just met the wrong crowd early in life, and then got in a little bit of trouble and decided he was going to become a Marine. Straight into the Marine Corps infantry.
Right.
0311, right in, and straight to combat as a young man. Did 2 tours, I believe, injured a couple times. They're working on his Purple Heart paperwork now, finally. He finally was able to track down a witness for that. So they're getting that finally taken care of.
Is he Iraq or Afghanistan?
He was in Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, yeah.
Yep.
Completely two different war fronts, man. And whenever I talk to people, because I was in Iraq, but whenever I talk to folks that were in Afghanistan, there was really not a lot of hardballs, not a lot of, I mean, roads, blacktop roads. There wasn't a whole lot of buildings. It was a really kind of a real third world country in a sense. And a lot of the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans are completely different as far as their experiences go and what they had to do when they were over there. So while he was in Iraq or Afghanistan,
Afghanistan. Yeah.
you were probably in college around that time, right?
Right. While he was getting shot at, I was partying with sorority girls,
Two different
doing
worlds.
doing keg parties and, you know, not even
Yeah.
thinking about what he was going through at the same
Yeah.
exact moments.
How was
It's
that
pretty
for you
crazy.
though? How was that for you when he was deployed?
Um, I always knew he was kind of a tough kid. We bumped heads a lot early because I felt like he should have led by like I was trying to lead by example and guide him and like show him the way, and he didn't want to listen to it. He did everything the opposite of me. If I did football, he's like, no, I don't want nothing to do with that. Like completely just separated everything that I was, and we just didn't get along much. In our younger years when testosterone kicked in, and then later though we started to really come around after his injury. He got injured in Afghanistan, ejected from a turret, and I guess did 3 months or so in Germany for rehabilitation. And when they originally called, they just said, you're. Well, they told my mother, your son's been injured. He's being medevaced out or something. He's going to be in Germany, and that's all I told her. She had no idea how bad or what the circumstances were, and that's when it kind of hit me. I just lost my little brother, right? And I didn't get a chance to like tell him, I'm proud of him because he,
Right.
he actually did it. He became a Marine. And when I saw him graduate from boot camp, I was like, wow, he did it. I didn't think he would. He never finished anything. It's just not the kind of kid he was. Like he did everything. He was great at everything, but he half-assed it. But he was a great Marine. He was an excellent Marine. Excellent. Um, he just changed. The military changed him into a better person. There were a lot of hard lessons learned, but it turned him into a man. And that's when we became, close again.
Wow.
And I'm
It
blessed.
sounds
I'm
like,
blessed that he didn't die, dude.
yeah, that's the reality of it all. I mean, two different realities, right? So when I came back from Iraq in '04, um, I would talk to just everyone that was sitting back here, and they were talking about vacations, Cancun. I did this, I did that, and like for the last year, I was serving in Iraq, dodging bullets, IEDs, and everything like that. So you come back to a world that literally has carried on without you in a sense, and it's kind of humbling in a way that he had that event happen to him, and it drew you guys closer, even though your entire lives you kind of were at each other's throats like two brothers typically would be, right? I
Yeah.
can't imagine what your parents went through having to deal with both of you. I'm sure there's a lot of belt whoopings that went around the house growing
A
up,
lot
right?
of a lot of doors that had to be replaced. A lot of holes
Oh
in walls.
man. And
We
you
learned
are
how
a
to patch
freaking
drywall pretty quick.
and your brother are probably about 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
Freaking you guys are monsters, man. So I can imagine the
Yeah.
damage y'all did
He's
growing
weighing in
up.
at about 240 solid. I'm pushing like 270, 280.
Dang, man. And you're a
It's
strong dude, but
there were some
I've seen you.
battles.
Yeah, I've seen you lift before. You're a pretty strong dude. I know your brother's the same way as well. So you had a pretty average upbringing, I would say. You have
Yeah.
one brother that's kind of the sports athletic guy, and then you've got the other brother that's kind of the opposite. So you've got two different personalities more or less growing up under the same household, and then
And the
life just
crazy part
takes
is
you.
he was super athletic.
Oh
He just
yeah,
didn't want to apply himself. The kid had a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. He just wouldn't apply himself. Like when he went to try out for the baseball team, he tried out in jeans. Like who does that, right? Like just a lot of decisions that I questioned. Like, what are you thinking, man? Like,
yeah.
are you really thinking through these decisions?
Probably just a
I
little
don't
bit
know.
of maturity. I mean, that's the best thing about the military is you go in and it gives you time to kind of bake and mature a little bit and figure out
Yeah.
what it is that you want to do in life, and exposes you to different cultures, different people, a diversity of people from all over the United States, and then leadership and organization. It gives you all that stuff as well. So, for as much flack as the military gets, for the kids out there that don't know what they want to do with themselves, it gives you time to figure it out. And it sounds like you were a little more mature in a sense at an early age to figure out that you wanted to go to college. You were playing sports, so that was enough to give you your base, your organizational skills, leadership skills, and all that stuff. So going into working for the government, what was that like?
Um, it was awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed being an air marshal. I loved from the first day getting my butt kicked. It felt like football practicing it a little bit, running and everybody's yelling at you, and I felt right into it, like doing 2 days, and it was fun. It was great. Learning a lot of the skills that we took later, like even though it was at a lower level, like going through the academy was fun for me. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have kids. I was 4 years old. Like I was young. I was excited about it. I was ready for it. And it was an amazing experience. Seeing things I never would ever be able to see, if I had not taken that position. I met my wife, while doing that job down in Miami. I wouldn't have moved to Miami. You know what I mean? On my own, I probably would have never went back there. So I don't know. It was a great experience. It felt like what I wanted out of life because I knew I could get a guaranteed good salary. My parents always preached, go in the government, get a good job, do what you're supposed to do, work your way up the ladder, do your 401k, do your investments, and you'll be fine, right? You'll get a good retirement, you'll be solid, can retire in your 40s, and then do whatever you want after that. So I
Yeah.
kind of like that's what I was going to do. And I just want to be the best at what I did, to show up to work, but do the best job I can. Just have fun.
Now, were either one of your parents military or in government work?
Yeah, they both were. So
Okay.
my mom was she was a civilian IT supervisor for the Coast Guard, but she was also a reserve commander. She was an O5, I believe, in the Coast Guard.
Wow.
And then around 9/11, after 9/11, she got actually promoted and called to active duty in Miami to be the chief of maritime homeland security. So she did that for I don't know 3, 4 years. So she was separated from the family for a little while. while I was in high school. So like she went down about 01, 02, and she was down there
Mm.
till like 05, I think, 04, 05. I can't remember the exact time frame.
Hmm.
And then my dad did 20 years Air Force, and then he got out. He ended up at U.S. Customs, so he retired at
Wow.
both. So yeah, both military government.
Yeah, you have a really deep government military leadership based family. I mean, right
It
off the
goes way
bat, you got a
back.
mom
Yeah,
and dad that are really in there, and especially during a tumultuous time of September 11th and being sent down there to cover, you know, national security of our country. That's absolutely amazing that you grew up with that type of leadership, and then you both of you boys kind of grew into your own, I guess you could say. So now you served your time in the government, and then you decided to get out and transition into the civilian side. What was that like for you leading up to that?
after the medical retirement, it was kind of nerve wracking. I had no idea what I was going to do now. I knew my medical pension would not, I had 3 little girls. I have a wife. I have a full family, young family. So I had to make income, right? And I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do or how to even get there. Um, but networking and making good friendships is where it really became beneficial because I had some people that I could call on that kind of led me to this is what I did, try this. Um, I did 1 year as the vice president of cybersecurity investigations for a company, and it just wasn't what I was looking for anymore. It was very corporate, a lot of work hours, a lot of extra stress and I just wanted to do something a little bit differently. And it was very cold. Everybody's after you. Everybody wanted to take your job. Everybody wanted to make you look bad and make themselves look better. And it wasn't a very good environment. And I just didn't want to be in that anymore. So I started figuring out what am I going to do? So I started looking into opening my own business or figuring out what is next. Met a fraternity brother who did commercial real estate, very successful at it, extremely successful at it. Probably does 600, $700,000 a year in commissions, right? So, but when you transfer to that world, into commissions only, there's no money coming in unless you're making the money. It's stress. Like you don't get the guaranteed paycheck that the government was, that cushy little protection of like,
Mhm.
I'm going to get my paycheck. I'm going to get my paycheck. Like, how do I get my next, 5 grand, my 10 grand, like, how do I get this to make this happen? And it was tough, and then you also don't have the same kind of brotherhood that you did. Like it's not as tight. You're not seeing everybody all the time. You're not always with the camaraderie. You're kind of alone. So it forces you, if you don't step outside of that bubble and you don't start reaching out to people and forcing the communications and the connections, it won't happen. Um, and I was very blessed, I made a lot of good friendships and a lot of good connections. And so I was able to, I'm a, partner doing military ballistic protection for military contracts, law enforcement contracts. I do a little bit of commercial real estate. And what I do now is the sales director of a software company. We do, merchant services for different kinds of businesses all over the United States in Puerto Rico. So I kind of got my hands in everything and I never stop ever.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like when you're working on commission only, you can't have any down days, man. You can't take any breaks, right? I mean, in the government, you could have a Tuesday where you're not feeling it and you can kind of just go through the motions. But when you're accountable and responsible and you have no money in your pockets, that's huge, right?
It's different. And, like I get to meet with a lot of different business owners every week now. I went and found a different kind of group of people to kind of hang around. And what I've learned is every business owner goes through that. Like there is no guaranteed money. If you don't like, just like any company, if you don't sell the product, there is no money coming in. You could have all the product in the world, but if you don't sell it, it's just loss. So it's the same kind of, it's that mentality of like, I've got to go out and grind for me. But there's less overhead. Like you don't have somebody yelling at you all the time. You don't have the stress of like, it's a different kind of stress, but it's motivating because you're working for yourself.
Now, did you think the grass would be greener?
No,
You didn't.
I knew that it was going to be a challenge and a transition. And I knew that I was going to have to work 3 times as hard because I no longer can work in a position where I'm the guy that, like, I already knew. I felt like I knew a lot in the government. I had a lot of, expertise by the time I retired, and I kind of basically had a good knowledge point on what I was doing. People came to me for answers. So stepping back into this world, I had to learn everything over, start over at the bottom again, completely start from scratch. And I'm still learning every day. There's so much to
Yeah.
learn.
Did you feel like in corporate America that there versus the government work that there's a lot of backstabbing going on because everyone's trying to climb that ladder?
100%. 100%. In the corporate world, in that corporate 9 to 5 type environment, especially like the industry I was in, everybody is trying to keep their job, right? In the government, you had to really do something to get fired. Like you had to really step on your toes multiple times. In that world, they basically hung it over your head. Like, we can let you go at any minute. Like, we're paying you for this. Like, these are your expectations. Like, if you're not exceeding those expectations, we can let you go at any moment. Like, you're always on the chopping block, and everybody knows that. So, like, any chance they can get to like step on you to keep their job or get a promotion, they're gonna do it. There are no
Mm,
friendships. There's no loyalties. It's a
yeah.
completely different world. Dude,
I
it
had a
is.
s- I had a similar experience too when I got out of the military, and I worked for a large aeronautics company. I was 27 at the time, had a graduate degree, what just got out of the army as a captain, just came back from Operation Iraqi Freedom. Everybody's still flying their American flags. Um, I was fortunate on one hand to be brought in and be employed right after resigning my commission, but when they handed us off, when HR handed us off to the management folks, it was kind of like you're out in the ocean now, figure it out. And so a lot of your peers would look at you and say, 27 years old, has a master's degree. I don't even have a degree. Um, this is my competition now. Like I have to figure out how to get over this kid. And the leverage I have is my experience here. So I experienced a lot of that, a lot of um, just hater mentality basically where I was almost sabotaged in some ways and finding someone to lean on, someone that you can trust was hard. And I was fortunate that there was an Air Force veteran there and his name was Kenny. And shout out to him, man, because he actually pulled me aside and said, "Look, kid, like this is what's going on. This is what you got to do." So, how did you find the people that you could trust? How did you find your new tribe and your circle when you get out here and you just don't know who to trust?
I mean, this is gonna sound cliche to a lot of people, but God, man, like he led me, and I've kind of changed the way my approach to life in general. Like before, when I was in the government, like got to a point where I thought I was the one in control. I was the reason I promoted. I was the reason that I was always me, me, me. Like everything I did was because I put in the work. It was me all the time. And there was a point, and I don't know if I told you this or I didn't tell many people about this, but there was a point in California, dude, where I just couldn't do it anymore with COVID and all the stuff going on and the stress and like the feeling that I'm going to lose my job and the family and how am I going to support my kids. Like I had no answers. It came to a point where I couldn't figure out what to do. And I hit my knees on the side of a cliff right there in Palos Verdes out looking out towards Catalina Island. And I surrendered it, dude. I was like, I give up. I give it all over. I can't do this. I give it all over. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. At that point, like I said, I can't control it anymore. I'm going to stay aware and I'm not going to like, completely give up, but I can't try to control every outcome. I just got to ride it, take it when it comes. Stop stressing so much. I couldn't sleep. Like it was bad. It was very unhealthy. And,
Mm,
and now it's more of we roll with the experience. Like I don't force the experiences anymore. And like, I'm always open to communicate with people and help people and offer a helping hand wherever I can. And then because it's this thing called giver's gain, I feel like the more you give, you tend to give back. And some people call it karma. Some people call it whatever, but I just kind of ride the flow now and I still work hard. You can't stop working. Like biblically, you have to work, but it's no longer me in control. I feel like I'm doing my work through somebody else's plan. and just trying to help people whenever I can. Do everything I can to help people.
Your your wife must be an extremely strong individual. You have 3 daughters. You're out here hundreds of miles away from your nearest family, right? Because they're all in Florida, and you're out here in Los Angeles, Angeles. This place is so lost, and it's. I mean, it's hard to connect here. I always say there's like millions of people here, but it's really hard to find a good circle, a good community, because everything here is traffic and lines and hustle and bustle. And you hit the ground and had to just give it up to Jesus and say, "Look, take the wheel. Like, tell me where to go from here." How did that change your life after that? Like, how has that changed your life now that you're not feeling like you have to drive the steering wheel, but you're listening to someone else?
It was a blessing in a lot of ways, and my wife is a saint. Like she really is, and I've also got to thank you for that conversation we had in my office, like probably a year in, when I was thinking about sending my wife and children home back to Florida. Like they weren't liking Los Angeles, COVID, and all the chaos and the stress, and we have a baby that's stuck in a house all the time. It was just horrible. And you're like, don't do it. It's not worth it. Like either keep them here or you leave. Like never leave your family. And you had an experience yourself, man, that you shared with me, and that changed me. I learned from you in that. And that conversation was meant to happen. Like I was meant to meet you. I was meant to be there. I was meant to have that exact conversation in that office. Otherwise, my life would look completely different. I could be divorced now. I could be, who knows? Who knows what happened? You know, that's the way I look at life. Everything has a purpose, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. There is a purpose and it flows. You just got to be willing to kind of ride it and listen. And if you don't listen, you're going to miss something. Like you told me what to do, and I was like, man, that's what I'm going to do. I listened. I heard you.
I really appreciate you listening to me because I don't mind being vulnerable, and that's kind of why I have this podcast. Is I don't mind sharing my experiences, no matter how shitty they were, no matter what the outcome was. How I mean, I failed so many times, man, in life. I have failed so many times. I had lived and learned, and in a sense, I feel like if I can share a piece of me that makes me vulnerable for someone else, and it makes their life better, then I'll die happy. And I appreciate you listening to just what I had to say, because, um, yeah, I had an experience where I thought on paper, this makes sense. Like, I'll send my family away and I'll stay here and, and all this stuff. And it just doesn't work. And your wealth is truly your family and not your bank account. And I think people need to understand that sometimes, that it's not about the amount of digits that you have in your bank or what's on your statement. It's about when you go home, do you have someone to cry and lean on and just release all the world's tensions? And so I'm proud of you. I can't tell you how proud I am of you because you are so resilient. You've always been super professional, and you're truly a leader. And when it's all said and done, and like I said, you're definitely top three um, of all the blessed folks that I've ever had to work for in my entire life. So for that, the career transition happens, and you end up now you're in Florida, right?
Yep, we're back in Florida.
And you're working for this corporation. What was that like?
It was different in the way that they expect you to come in as a professional right away. They're not going to train you. They're not going to teach you. There's nothing that
Right.
you come in and you're going to do the job. Like that's it. You read your SOPs, you read what they tell you to do and that figure it out. And you better be good at it or you're done. And it was a remote job. It was completely remote and it was computer for 16 hours a day almost. I had 3 monitors and I was constantly investigating all kinds of fraud and insider threat and just it was insane. Like we did in my year, I think I did over 100 investigations. just me. And then we had a team of like 5 at the time. And the job, I'll put it this way, the job was so stressful, and I hope he's in heaven. And I don't know what the guy that I worked for, he was a great guy. He used to be an air marshal as well, actually. That's how I learned about the position. He committed suicide. The
What?
job
Really?
stress got to him. Yeah.
This was after you started working there?
After I left, about a
Wow.
year after I left. And it was pretty sad, man. Like when I heard about it, he had a young kid, his wife, and just the stress of those kinds of jobs sometimes can be overwhelming. And you talk about being vulnerable, right? One of the things he told, there's another really good close friend. I don't want to say names right now, but he called him the night before and he was harping on his time in the government. I mean, I missed the Brotherhood and man. And then the guy who worked with me at the bank or doing the investigations, one of the team members, when he left, he went back into government because he just didn't like it in the private world. So he went back in and now he's with HSI. And while he was at HSI Academy, this particular person's pictures on the wall. He won a bunch of awards there for the HSI Academy when he was there. They take the pictures of you and they post it up when you beat all the running records, shooting records, and all that stuff. So his buddy, our mutual friend, took a picture and sent it to him. And he's like, yeah, it's back when I mattered. And he had no outlet, right? He wasn't reaching out to anybody. He wasn't vulnerable. He wasn't able to talk about what the struggles he was going through internally. But looking back, our mutual friend was like, wow, I didn't pick up on that. He told me. He said it, like back when I mattered, right? The key words. But he wasn't listening. He wasn't truly listening. And he blames himself. I'm like, don't blame yourself, man. It is hard. These are hard lessons. Like it was bad. I'm not saying it's like that in every government job or corporate job after the government or anything like that. It's just there's always going to be hard times. There's always going to be struggles. There's always going to be something. And we need each other. It's the brotherhood. It's the camaraderie that you need, whether it's 3 people. Men need men. And I'm actually in a part of a biblical group now. It's a bunch of, business owners. And we're doing this workshop and we go through and it's all men. We talk about the vulnerabilities of man and we work through that and we openly communicate it because it's not easy. It's really not. And I don't know if I told you about the Caveman Combine that I got to do
Yeah,
with my brother.
you mentioned it to me, and I tried to reach out to those guys. I never was able to get a hold of them.
Caleb is super busy, but they're starting
Yeah.
to get it going again. There's one in May if you want to go, but I'm going to go again. It's brutal. It's intense, but it's freaking awesome. You can see some of their videos. They have an Instagram channel and they have some podcasts and stuff. But Caleb Callahan, great guy. That was another way that men got us back to our different roots, like our foundational roots and the prayers and the just it's constantly about building that brotherhood, I think,
Yeah.
and maintaining it and having someone you can actually be vulnerable and talk to about stuff because it's
This
not easy.
the thing that I loved about the what was it called? The caveman what?
Caveman Combine. Caveman
Caveman.
Combine.
The thing I liked about that was when you talked to me about that before was how they have the groups set up and it's more of a team effort. There's been a lot of these Navy SEALs style boot camps that have popped up where they just spray you down with a water hose and insult you the whole time. And those are absolutely ridiculous. Those are really stupid. But like what you described with the Caveman Combine, it builds camaraderie and it gives you a chance to work as a team, and then it
You suffer
involves
together.
religion, right? It's not
Yep.
like you've got some grown man yelling at you and spitting in your face and giving you a mock-up of what Navy SEALs go through. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. But the Caveman Combine, it sounds like you got an opportunity to network and meet a lot of folks, and you worked with your brother there as well.
Yep.
What were your
First time we were ever
expectations?
on a team. There
It
were
was
no
the first time you were ever on a
expectations.
team, really?
We've never been on the same team in our entire lives. It's the first time we've ever been on a team ever. And we got to
That's
compete
awesome.
together on the same team in this event.
That
And we
is
camped
awesome.
out for 3 days and hard knocked it. Cold weather,
That's
rain in the mountains of Georgia. It
that is so
was
cool, man. So
such a great
what
experience.
describe like what the setups were like. Like how big were the groups and how many groups were there and what was the environment like and what were some of the obstacles and I guess team
So,
obstacles you had to go through?
so I'll circle back a little bit too. Like how I came into this was I was at an event for my current job, the software company. We were doing a convention. And there was this like country boy across from me, just this loud, outgoing, charismatic, loud country boy with his business. Just, I could just see him, his energy. And I was like, I'm
Mhm.
going to go talk to this guy. It was Caleb Callahan. And he just, told me all about this stuff. And we got to talk about the Lord and politics and their country and just everything. We didn't hold back. We were just having a great time. And he's like, hey, next month I'm doing this thing called Caveman Combine. You sound like you and your brother would be good for it. I'm like, I'll be there. He's like, yeah, right, right. Okay, yeah, okay, sure. You're going to show up to this combine thing and beat yourself up for 3 days. Not expensive either. Not that expensive. It's like $400 for the whole weekend. That covered the food, the ammo, the everything, right? So we did it. We showed up. Me and my brother packed it up, got us a couple tents. We didn't know what to expect and just drove 8 hours north to the mountains, of Georgia, and just went into this compound. So you pull into this compound and it's beautiful. 260 acres of mountainside compound, self-sustainable community. Like he's built himself a beautiful little nook. And I'm not going to share the location right now. But so you go into it, you pull up, and it's just this big campsite they have set up. They have these giant, they pulled trees down and made these giant tents out of like giant pine trees and black tarps, and they had the cots, like the military style cots, all inside the bunks. And then outside the bunks, they had these like posts that were different colors. Nobody knew what it was for yet. So you show up, you register, there's like 6 tents. So I assumed at that time there's gonna be 6 teams of some sort. There's 6 tents, different colors. You show up and they have bench presses made out of wood. Like out there, there's like 5 bench press machines. There's a pull-up bar. There's like all these different like things set up, and you're like, okay, this looks like like the football combine kind of. You're like, what's about to happen here? I'm having flashbacks of the old HFAs, like back when they when they would get us in the academy. Um, and then so we get there, we sign up, they call everybody in, and they basically give you a number, and they give you this like little sticker. You put it to your thing, and you have a number, and you have this sheet, and you basically walk around and compete. And you do as many bench presses as you can. You throw the kettlebell as far as you can. You do the pull ups, and they score you. And then you're drafted on the teams. And I want to say there's about 48 men, give or take. I want to say that was the number. I don't can't remember exactly how many, but then they would call basically out from that they would draft us into different teams, and then they would tell you what team you're on. You meet your team captain. You get your colored shirts. Into the tent, they kind of break it down. Your leader tells you down, says a prayer. You start talking about it. We're getting to know each other a little bit. And then that night, that very first night, activities start. I mean, it's pouring down rain. It's, cold, and we're out there like crushing it. I mean, we went so hard, a dude broke his leg on the first night, like snapped, completely snapped it. They had to take him to the hospital that night. But it was a great time, man. So you put yourself through a lot of torture. You're hurting, go to sleep, wake right back up in the morning to get back to it. There was marksmanship, where you did different levels of marksmanship from the caveman on. So like you threw stones, then you threw spears, then you threw hatchets, then you shot bow and arrow, transitioned all the way to guns. And then once we did the marksmanship exercise, there was there was marksmanship, there was the relay races, there was the crucible, which was intense. That one hurt me. It's basically a 4 mile run, team run through the mountains, up the mountain, down with ropes, going upstream against a running, full flowing river, and like up to your waist, ice cold. You can't feel your toes. You go up that for a couple miles, and the only way you can do it is by teamwork. So if you don't have your guy to lift you over the logs, like there's some logs you have to go over, they have you have to go under some, over some. And if you don't have somebody to pull you under that rushing water, man, you would get swept out. So it was pretty intense. And then you get to the end of it, and there were some pretty cool things that, like, if you weren't paying attention and working as a team, you couldn't finish it. Like, it was all about
Wow.
that brotherhood and working together. Like, if you got to the end, but you forgot, you didn't go get the key, and you weren't paying attention to the maps, and you weren't like together, you couldn't unlock your tools to build the crucifix out of 2x4s. You had to build this giant crucifix and carry that in for the final run. So you couldn't finish this whole thing. You had to go all the way back, get the key, and then come back and
Jeez.
build your. So it was a really cool, Oh, and the Warrior games, man, I don't forget the Warrior games, dude. Pugil sticks, tug of war, the Ring of Fire, where you're grabbing onto this tire and just trying to just drive each other out of the circle or just launch each other off of it. It was just full on. Just we went to war and then picked each other up afterwards. It was a great
Sounds like
time. Like
sounds like a ton of fun, man. How many days was this?
it was 3 days, 2 nights. So you show
Do
up
you,
on a Friday, you stay Friday night, Saturday night, and then you leave Sunday evening.
Now, do you have to necessarily be a Bible beater? Like, do you have to be someone that's deeper religious to do this sort of thing?
Not at all. I would say
No.
there was a good handful of these guys that weren't that way. So like we would do these talks about the Bible. And, one of the guys he was in the Navy SEAL and he's a pastor now, and he's part of one of the ones that started this program. But they're just trying to get young men and preach them. You don't have to. They're not going to turn you away. They're not going to say go. Like you come, you participate, and just listen. And we'd have these talks too, where with our group, we would have these in-depth talks about what we're going through in life. These kind of what we're doing now in a way, like opening up, being vulnerable. There were guys that said they had never in their entire lives opened up about some of these conversations we had to anybody, especially a man. Because as a man, we're tough, we're strong, we're
Right.
unbreakable, we're this hard surface, like nobody can ever, we have no emotion, we're so
Right.
tough. No one realizes like that's not at all what we are. We're human beings. We're fragile creatures. Our hard surface is just a product of all the things that are underlying that led to that. Why do we portray that way? Why do we have to be so tough or angry? There's underlying issues to all of it. And it brought a brotherhood, man. It was meant to be. Meeting those guys, competing with my brother, it was one of the greatest experiences. I can't wait to do it again.
Man, that sounded exciting when you were describing it. Everything from swimming upstream and just all
It
the
was fun.
elements that you had to deal with. Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. About how many people were there altogether? Would you say like 200 or so, or less than
A
that?
little over
Like
100 with
over
all the
100? Okay.
volunteers and yeah, because they had all
Yeah.
kinds of volunteers that showed up. A lot of these guys lived in the local area of northern Georgia, Tennessee. But there were some people that came all the way from like I want to say Virginia, Alabama, us from Tampa. So the word's getting out, and these guys, I would love to help them grow this thing. It's a great product.
I would love to connect with them. I mean, it sounds like a really cool event, man, a real positive event, an event that we need in today's world, man. Especially a lot of these men out here need something to bring that reciprocity and that idea of teamwork back together again, and that I got excited just listening to you talk about it, man. We had a conversation the other day and I want to touch on this. Can you underline the importance that you have found, I guess, with having multiple streams of income?
So it comes back to when I was in the government, I put all my eggs in that basket. I was thinking, like, just my parents told me, you work in the government, you get your pension, you put away some money, and when you retire, you've got all your money you need. Well, that's not true anymore, especially. Even when you do retire, you do your full 20, 25 years, you come out, you could have a couple hundred grand, maybe 600 grand in your TSP. If you played it right in your 401k, you might be able to get to 800 or so. Not bad. But if you're going to retire in your 40s and 50s, the cost is going up. Everything's going up. And if you're not drawing from all those things properly, like for me, I didn't get all that pension. I didn't get all that time to invest. So I only came out with like 90 something thousand in my TSP, maybe 100. And, with the pension being what it was, now I'm like, okay, how do I continue paying for all these expenses that I'm used to doing with $160,000 a year salary? And having one stream of revenue, you could lose it at any moment, especially when you come into the private sector. Like you don't know when that stream of revenue is going to be shut down. So you get all these bills, you build this lifestyle, and all of a sudden it's gone tomorrow, just because they don't want you anymore. They cut you at any time. And I started meeting all of the wealthy people I've met have multiple streams of revenue. Monetarily wealthy people I've met, they all have numerous streams of revenue. And a lot of them focus on building residual income in addition to their active income. So like for me, with Champion Payments, this is my active income. This is where I'm focused on. My energy is kind of focused on. And then everything else I have working for me. Like with the procurement of the ballistic protection and the body armor contracts, and then the commercial real estate stuff, and then building residual income within this business is another avenue stream of revenue in addition to my active income. So it's building out. So like if something were to happen, I still have income no matter what happens. And years down the road, that income is always there. I'm looking at, hopefully one day I'll get to acquire a couple commercial properties where I can have those commercial properties work for me and have investment properties and just multiple streams of revenue.
Yeah, what at what point did you make that shift though? You went from like the mentality that your parents gave you to the mentality that you have now. Like, was there somebody involved in that, or was it just you just came to that?
No, it was people that I met, people I've talked to, like the way I listen to people, I absorb and I learn from people's experiences because they've already been there or they've done that. And like, I also surround myself by successful people on purpose, right? So like, if I want to be successful, that's who I need to talk to. How did you do it? How did you get here? And a lot of these guys that I've met, I mean, they've been willing to share their secrets because it's not a secret. It's not a secret. They're not trying to hold some secrets formula. They just work hard, put their faith and do multiple different things and do it well.
Work hard, discipline, faith. I mean, can you talk about the importance that you have found in like mentorship?
Mentorship is a big one. I love helping people. And there is, it could turn around for you too. Like you never know when someone could come back and help you out. Like someone that you've guided in life and all of a sudden, wow, they're in a position to help you. And it's been, I've been very blessed that I've gotten to see a lot of people succeed, that I've helped and mentored, but I've also taken some great mentors as well. You know, I've been lucky and blessed that I found some good mentors that guided me and, showed me different paths and great partnerships and like just, I think that is the most important thing we can do in this life. And people call it networking or whatever, but be selective on who you surround yourself with, but don't push people away either. Like listen, help people out, like just be a good person. If you're willing to help people and you're willing to put yourself out there and you're willing to actually listen and make a change, it changes everything. That I think that is the key to all of it. Like I think that like that is literally the you can't do it alone. No one can do it alone. Like there is no success alone. Maybe that is not true for everybody, but in most experiences I've seen and people that I've seen that have been successful, they surround themselves with a good team, good people, and they have a good network of friends, ones they
Yeah.
can rely on, and they work together and they're not trying to stab each other in the back. Like that's one thing I love about what I do now with merchant processing and merchant services and working at Champion Payments. People are like, well, how do you feel, like you're doing a good job, or how do you feel like your job matters? Well, what I do now is completely dependent on the success of the people I work for and with. Like if I partner with a restaurant, let's say, I don't make a profit unless that restaurant succeeds. Our success is completely reliant on each other's success. So there is no me trying to make them fail to make myself better. Like I want them to succeed. I want to pump as much success into that company as I can because the more successful they are, the more successful we are. We
Right.
are literally relying on each other. And I love that because
Right.
when I can go in and actually say that to them and they understand it, they're like, oh, that makes sense. I make no money unless you make money. So let's go out there and crush it. And that changes everything.
Yeah, it seems like it's a whole different mentality because I know in government work, a lot of times you get into a position, you build it up, and then all the products and all the things that you did usually gets tore down, and then somebody else uses the man hours to rebuild it again. And versus like in the civilian world, you're building towards something, but there's a good chance, good opportunity that you'll just continue in that position for a number of years and maybe build yourself up to be a greater success, which I think is a lot more motivational than knowing that in 3 to 4 years I'm going to have to move on to something else. Um, And I don't know. They say a lot of times it creates a better, well-rounded professional, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that's true or not. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say, like, from my experience, and I'm still young. I'm I'm not old yet. I don't feel like I've still got a lot of working to do, but and growing to do. But I just feel like we have to find something that we truly can do, right? That we enjoy. Don't settle. When I found this Christian faith-based company, like the CEO here is amazing. He treats everybody with love, compassion, understanding. He's a pastor. He has his own congregation. Like, I've surrounded myself and found a position in a career that, like, I can grow with it and evolve with it and help build a business and be a part of it and the success of it. And he shares that, it's a family. It's not a job. And I tell everybody we get one chance, right? To go around the globe. Like, or we'll circle the earth and live our life. From our experience, like from our knowledge, we get one chance at it. Like, why waste the time being miserable? And I think that's the one thing I could take away from leaving the government, that there is life after those positions. Like, you can always find a new job. As long as you're hardworking, dedicated, and you're honest and you have integrity, there's always a job. You don't have to be relying on one. If you're not happy, if it causes your marriage, your kids, like causes any rifts in your family, like, walk away. Go find something else. Like,
Yeah.
there's something else out there for you. You don't know. Like, it could be around the next corner. No, I'm not telling anybody just quit their jobs. Like, we need people to work jobs. There's certain careers that we need people to be in. Like, you guys served our country. We need that. And I'm not saying everybody should just leave it, because there's some people that love what they do. And we value that. Like, I value what you do. I value what my brother does, my sister-in-law, a lot of friends and family that are still in the government.
Yeah. And I think there's different evolutions of your life as well. Like if you're doing something, whether it's military, law enforcement, first responder, your head and your heart has to be in it. And even if you do 5 years in the military, 4 years in the military, whatever it is, I mean, for that time frame, your service is honorable. You don't have to do 20 years or 30 years or whatever. It's you do something for a certain amount of time, and as long as your head and your heart and your family is there, that's the most important thing that you have. Um, I've known guys over the years that are like, "Well, I served in the military, but I didn't go to combat, so it's I kind of was in the military, but not really." And that's not true. Like at the end of the day, you signed up for a very difficult mission that most people don't sign up for, and it's the same thing with first responders as well. So your time serving as a first responder, as law enforcement, is extremely valuable, even though you've moved on past that now and you're serving other purposes now. Um, you meet with all these
Yeah,
CEOs. What's that?
I
Go
do.
ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, like, I got way more out of that than I did in college. Like, college is a piece of paper. I can't tell you if I've applied anything I learned in college other than, a couple of nights out with the boys. So, I mean, you know, going in the government and being in law enforcement, like, I got so much experience from it. So many opportunities, hands-on experience, building programs, working with people, mentoring, you know, deploying, do it. It was a great experience. I feel like everybody should get the opportunity to serve in some capacity or another. And you brought up another point again. I wanted to touch on it. Just when you said it, I thought about it. Like, the fact that people second guess themselves. Yeah, I was kind of in the military. Like, why did people think down on themselves? Everybody's quick to put themselves down or say, like, even with me, like, yeah, I kind of played football in college. I did it, and I tried not to, and I still did it. Like, nobody
Right.
wants to talk to themselves. Like, no one's be like, yeah, I was, gotta be proud of what you do, proud of your accomplishments, and proud of your failures.
Yeah.
Like, you tried, right? It's like this other guy, the guy in the gym the other day. He was sitting there repping, I want to say like 275, whatever, and he failed. And he did it like 3 or 4 times, but then he failed in the last rep, and I pulled it off him. And he's like, "Dang it, man! I'm so weak. I'm like, dude, you just did exactly what you're supposed to do. You failed. You pushed yourself to failure. You got more out of this workout than anybody else in here that's doing 20 reps. Like, you failed and you succeeded at the same time. Like you got so much from that rep. He's like, oh, dude, thank you, man. You know, it's like it's all perspective on how we look
Right.
at life. He was down on himself because he felt like everybody was going to judge him for failing on a rep. Like, dude, that's badass. You pushed yourself to failure. Like that is a totally different mindset. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to say I told you the same thing too when I met you and you told me you played football. You downplayed it quite a bit. And I was like, don't downplay that. Like the fact that you even stepped on the field at Division 1, Division 3, any collegiate athlete out there that has the and I say this is the difference between the military and being a collegiate athlete. In the military, you're told where to be, what to wear, how to pivot, the whole 9 yards. When you're a college athlete, they're giving you a time, but you have to set that alarm clock. They're like, you have to have the discipline to go out to the field at that time and bring all your stuff with you. So it takes a lot of maturity to be a collegiate athlete. And I remember telling you, I was like, don't downplay that.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that that I just remembered that specific thing about you.
I think
When
it's
you're
more of in that it's a disappoint myself because
right,
I chose to party versus applying myself like I should have.
yeah.
And
I mean, you're
I do I don't want to look back. If I change anything, it changes everything. Right. But I do like I could have pushed myself harder.
I mean, you're a kid. I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that you were even in that driver's seat to begin with, to be in that position, is
Yeah.
incredible, man. Like to be even accepted to a Division 3 college is absolutely um, outstanding.
It
To
was a
be
great
honest with
experience.
you,
It was. It was
and you know
fun.
we are our own worst critics, man, and we are really hard on ourselves a lot of times. I recently, a couple years ago, I went through a really difficult tactics course with a really difficult instructor. Instructor was a peer of mine. His name was Mike. Great guy. The guy is war torn. I mean, just I have had so many conversations with him where he just talks about his time serving in Afghanistan. And there's such a big difference between his experiences and mine. But went through this tactics course and I screwed up really bad on this one scenario. And I thought, man, I'm going to get my ass chewed. I just prepare for it. Just I deserve it. The whole 9 yards. I walked out of the house and expecting to get my ass chewed. And this instructor, Mike, he just looked at me and he just kind of shook his head. And I just kind of stood off to the side and was beating myself up internally. And later on, I asked him, I said, man, I expected you to chew my ass after that one because I knew I screwed up. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I know you. He goes, I know you're going to be harder on yourself and then I can be on you. So I'm just going to let that go. And he's right. He was 1000% right, man. I was beating myself up. So nothing anyone else could say to me at that time would have affected me in any way, shape, or form. But we do struggle with the internal value of ourselves. And what are some of the things that you've learned over the years on how we can be better at, I guess, loving ourselves a little more, respecting ourselves a little more, our experiences, our time. You weren't just in the Marines, you weren't just in the Army, you weren't just in law enforcement, but you were serving. And a life of service is a life worth living. So how have you learned to, I guess, really appreciate yourself a little bit more in your experiences?
Again, it comes back to the Bible and it comes back to the camaraderie in the group and the people I surround myself with. Like doing the Bible study together, part of our series that we're doing, it's called 33 series, is about vocational in your job as a man. So it's perfect timing because we literally are doing the series right now. Um, and last week there were these are business owners, successful business owners, and they were talking about how they're not happy with their job or like it's just oh yeah, I just do this or I just do that or nobody was like proud of all their experiences, but on the outside looking in we're like wait, pump the brakes. You run a $10 million a year business that you started from the ground up with literally no help and you built it into this by yourself. You should be proud of that. You're okay, you're just a roofer. That's what you think, but dude, you put roofs on people's houses. You've built an empire where you have 10 crews
Yeah.
working for you. Like you are doing so much for our community and like you don't realize what your impact is To you, you're just putting roofs on houses, but you're putting roofs on houses. Like,
Right.
I mean, he's like, I never really thought about it like that. And we all do that. The pest control owner, it doesn't matter what you're like, everybody kind of like finds a way if they, it becomes, become complacent.
Right.
When we become so good at something, we become complacent. And I'm guilty of it all the time. I do it all the time. Like everything. I'm like, even my bench press, I hit 315 on incline for like 4 the other day. And the dude's like, dude, that's super strong. And I was like, it's normal for me. It's just me lifting weight. Right. But to somebody outside's perspective, that looks like a crap ton of weight. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, that dude's hitting 315 on incline. It's just, I think it's people reminding us or finding a way to maybe self-reflect and say, if I was looking at my life, what would it appear? How does it appear? And then it's taking that a step further and saying, what in my job or what in my life am I doing to serve God's purpose? And that's the thing that we're taking away from this now. Not only our own internal satisfaction, but are we satisfying God's goal for us? And I told, like, we were talking about it, and the roofer, he's like, you know, this is what I've got. This is all I do. But that's the skill you were given. If you told me to go make a roof, I have no idea what I'm doing. I would botch the job. I would have no clue how to make a roof. I have no job. I don't have no clue how to do these things you guys do. It's impressive that you guys can do this and that you see it. Architects, same thing. An architect that he's like, oh, I just design houses. Like, dude, that's incredible. You design houses that stay up and house people. Like,
Right.
it's just people get complacent. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can't really describe it myself, man, but yeah, I know a lot of, and I always tell people this, like, I have over the years worked with some tremendously, I mean, impressive professionals. I always say like the difference between like a lot of your big time influencers, like your Jockos and your Mike Glovers and all these other guys out there, the difference between them and the guys that I've worked with over the years is marketing. That's it. Like there are some really impressive guys that I've just been so fortunate to be standing in the same room and be a part of whatever exercise it is or whatever op that we're doing at that time. And we have a tendency to kind of dwindle ourselves down just a notch or two or three or four and downplay who we are, man, and our experiences overall. And I don't understand it myself. You mentioned before that you've been part of conversations with CEOs and these millionaires, and they're sort of in the same boat where like they're kind of bored and they don't know what to do with themselves and they don't see themselves as something bigger than anything else. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. Um, it's the same thing I was just, kind of touching base on it. We go into these meetings and they have been doing it for 20 years and like it's the same day, same thing. They wake up and they just have their coffee and their routine and they're just bored, looking for meaning in life. You know, if you don't have anyone or you're not good at self-reflection, like a lot of us aren't. A lot of us like to beat each other up. We beat ourselves up, but how do we like pull each other, like our own self, like pull ourselves up? I've got my wife. Like she's very good at it. Like I've got very lucky in my wife. She keeps me motivated. She backs me no matter what I decide to do. She reminds me of my worth. She's hard on me, which is good, but not as hard as I am on myself. But these CEOs and these, successful people, they all have their own internal struggles and their own reasons that they're no longer content in life or they're looking for something. And for me, I'm not going to tell everybody, go to the Bible or do that, but find something that you want in addition to your work. If you're feeling like that, first find your
Yes.
worth and how you can make it, valuable, but then find something else that you can put your time into. Like for me, I volunteer at the church. I do the safety team for all the children. I keep 400 kids safe every single Wednesday. I enjoy that. I volunteer a lot of my time to safety and like security of the church. And that's where I pour my time into on my off time. And I thoroughly enjoy it. I feel like I'm making a difference at the church, providing a
Yeah.
service for the church.
Finding that soul fulfillment, right? That's
It's,
really what it is.
but we can find it in our own jobs. We can find it in everyday life, but you got to be willing to listen and figure out what it is. Even if it's just giving someone food, homeless man food or woman food, or finding a way to it, like put a couple bucks aside every month, and then once you get a good chunk, like help a mom and her child. There's so many ways to help. There's orphans out there. Like one of the big things I was talking about with my wife the other day, for Christmas, we went to this orphanage and we got these like Christmas trees. You pull them off the tree and it's a kid that has his wish list or whatever. The two kids I saw were 18 and 19 years old. And I was like, man, like, what happens like when they're 18, 19, like they're still in the orphanage? Like, well, they let them stick around for a little bit, but this will be the last Christmas. Like, this is their last, now they're on their own. And these kids get out there on their own and they don't have a network. They have no parents. They have no guidance. They don't have, like, they're just kind of on their own. What's going to happen to those children? Like, that's what we were talking about. Like, how can we maybe one day look for a way to help these kids coming out of these situations and guide them to the career, guide them to college, show them how to fill out paperwork, just give them free guidance and support. Maybe go earlier, start with them when they're 16 at the orphanages, start talking them through, like, what do you want to do with your life? What are you interested in? These children need guidance, you know,
Yeah, and that's the
just a
one
lot
thing
out
I
there.
there's a lot of mentorship that's needed. A lot.
A lot.
A lot, and a lot of men are not doing it. They're not mentoring these young men to look professional, be professional, how to talk, how to walk. I mean, I'd say my generation, we've almost failed. Like, we sit here and complain about all these kids coming up now. That's our fault. That's our fault.
100%.
That's my
Yep.
generation's fault, man. I got to take accountability for that. Um, and it hurts my heart because I didn't grow up that way. My dad was a really hardcore guy, really intense, um, guy that was 20-year military service, ranger, drill instructor. I
Yeah.
mean, he set me straight, man. I was very fortunate and blessed to have him, as a father figure growing up. Um, and I want to mention too, we talked about belonging here and not selling ourselves short of who we are and our experiences. And as you were just talking, I looked behind me and I saw my bronze star back here
Big man. Yep.
with the IED deck cord underneath it, and that was in a box for a number of years. I never pulled it out. I never really talked about it. Um, it was one of those things where I came back and I just wanted to assimilate. I wanted to just be like everybody else. I didn't want to be different. But no matter how much I tried to scrub myself of that, I always came back to understanding that I'm a combat veteran. And I've been trying to learn how to appreciate more of the idea that I belong here. I belong in this podcast space. I belong doing this. And it's days like this that make me re I guess they make me understand because I have these conversations with guys like you, and this has been dude, this is yeah, exactly. This has been such a it just re-energizes me to like this is what I need to be doing because people need to hear from guys like you how they're continuing on and continuing forward even though you have all this adversity. You have downs, you have ups, you have in betweens. You talked about offline, we talked about depression. I mean, you experienced a little bit of that, right?
Extreme depression. Yeah. I mean, when I was in California, man, I was drinking every night. I mean, heavily. Rum. Like, I would have these giant, and not just like a little cup of, like, what I mean? I would fill these giant cups. My University of Miami, go Canes, by the way. The University of Miami cup, I'd fill it up with like halfway full with rum and like a can of Coke Zero, and I would drink at least one of those a night. Like, when I was grilling, I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna drink while I grill my burgers, or grill my food for the kids while they swim in the pool, right? All these excuses,
All
but it
these
was to really
reasons.
like try to take away the stress, and all that did was make it worse because now I have blood pressure and I'm hungover a little bit, or like, just it was constant. It was a cycle. And then I put on a face at work and I would stay motivated. But as soon as I'd walk out the door, it was back to the depression and anxiety and, the stress, internal dwell. Like, I didn't want to put it on my wife, but I had no one else to talk to about that kind of stuff at the time, you know, because I didn't want to be vulnerable. I
Right.
was a supervisor. I was a leader. I was, you know, a federal agent. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like just this
Right. You're stoic. You're
facade.
like this,
Yeah.
yeah, this tough
I'm a
guy.
hard, I'm strong. I'm big. My kids, invincible, and it's just, everything happened for a reason. I learned at a young age, man. I'm blessed that I learned young. I feel so blessed. I guess I've always kind of done things faster than most. Like the way I knew I was going to start my career, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Most people got out of college and had no clue what they were going to do. Like I've been blessed.
Well, just like I said, man, I've been blessed to work with people like you and to be able to sit here today and have a conversation with you, George. Um, when it's all said and done, you got 3 daughters. What legacy do you want to leave on this earth?
I just want to show them that they can do whatever they want, whatever they put their minds to, and lead by compassion, by example. I want them to be strong. I'm teaching them all kinds of valuable skills in life, but I also want them to have compassion and to think for themselves, not just because somebody tells you to do something. Like that's one thing that I took away. Like in the government, we were told to do certain things and it became an order. And if you defied that order, there were consequences. And I didn't agree with certain orders at certain times, and I stuck my ground. And a lot of people had to go through that. I mean, we all went through some interesting times in 2020, 2021. And it opened my eyes because growing up, I was always a order follower. Always. Like completely order followers. And I'm not saying there's not good things in law and order, but you need to think for yourself. Why am I doing this? What is the reason I'm doing this? Is there moral reasons for this? Like, and I make my kids think like that. Like, even I love my girls; they're so smart, and they love it because it's an exercise. I don't just tell them no anymore, and my wife kind of helped with this. If we don't want them to do something, we'll say well, we don't think you should. Here's why. What are your thoughts on it? And we let them actually communicate with us. Well, I want to do it because this and this. Okay, well, have you thought about this, right? Instead of just be like, no, end of story. I'm the dad. That's it. You're done. Like the way we were raised. Like, that's it. No more questions. Go to bed. Okay, yes, sir. Like, so I want to leave a legacy of to see the world differently. They love the church. They're so involved in the church. 2 girls are on the worship team. They love to sing. They love to praise. Um, it's just good to see them grow up into little women. I got one that's going to be a teenager this year. Scary. She's a little woman. So it's happened quick. And I'm sure you know.
What a beautiful life you've had, George. You've had ups, downs. You've had a brother that's proudly served during a time of war. Great parents that also served our great country as well. And then here you are today, transitioning your career from government to civilian, to the civilian environment, and you've taken a lot of the skills, a lot of the experiences with you over there, and hopefully you have some effect over folks that are on that side of the aisle as well. For folks out there that want to connect with you, you are on LinkedIn, right? And you are on
I am.
Instagram,
I'm on Instagram. I'm slowly getting back into social media. I do have these accounts and I'm starting to try to be more active, especially in the sales role. You
right?
need to be more socially active. I'm not a big poster. I don't like to post or market, like you say. Like there's certain guys that do things. It's hard for me to get into social media because I don't like picking up my phone unless I have to. So I need to find either hire somebody to do my posts, but I am going to be on social media. Reach out to me.
George, it's meant the world to me that you've stayed in contact with me all these years later, and I just want to thank you for that.
No, you're one of the good ones, brother. My phone is always open to you anytime. You know that.
I appreciate that. And if anyone out there is listening, if you listen to George's story today and you'd like to connect with him, you can find him on LinkedIn. George Gammon, I would guess, no middle initial, nothing like that.
No, it's George Gammon, but there is another George Gammon out there. He's a financial like guru. Not that one. So
So the
look for the
non
heavier set guy.
the non-financial guru George Gammon, and then
Yeah,
you're
there you
also on
go.
Instagram. I'll do my best to put in the show notes and the descriptions, and I'll collab with you on the Instagram as well, because people out there kind of digest their connections differently on the different types of social media that they use out there. But George, we've been talking for almost an hour and a half now, man. I hope that we can do this again some other time, man, when you've
Anytime.
hit a new milestone. And we're recording this on a Monday, and we're a couple hours away from the big game, Indiana versus Miami. Who do you got?
Yep. Go Canes, baby. Go Canes. Let's go.
I'm about to put some money down on that one because at the end of the day, like, I'm always about the underdog. Indiana is so heavily favored in that game right now, man.
If that
It'll be
Miami D
interesting.
shows up, it's going to be an interesting game. Let's see who shows up.
It'll be interesting, man. Yeah. Well, let me let you go so you can go grab your wings and get your family together and go enjoy that game. But George, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to pick your brain and learn a little bit more about you and where you've been and where you're going. I appreciate that.
No, brother. Thank you for the opportunity, man. You have a great one. Thanks, buddy.
And for everyone else out there, as always, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors, all out.